So it's Saturday the 3rd, absolutely pouring down outside. Nevertheless, I've got the birds out in the bottom loft. I don't want to be out there, so I've decided to have a clean in the cabin. Obviously you want to be comfortable when you're with the birds, so I thought I'd give it a quick whiz through. Got some corn made up as well there. Moved the boxes. I've got the stove on the go with the kettle's boiling. It's absolutely boiling hot. I've been using logs actually. They're not quite seasoned yet. They're not burning too hot. But I've stuck some, like an old cupboard which I had. I've cut that up because I wasn't using it anymore. And it's burning really, really hot. We've also had to play around again this week. I've fitted a car CD player to a normal hi-fi stereo and got that running off me solar panels as well, and it's working fine, all fused. That there I do hope to put like a light switch so I can just knock it on and off, make sure it doesn't drain the batteries. One thing I say is a must actually, when you're racing you're going to get other people's birds in. I don't like locking them out. I wouldn't want anyone to lock mine out anyway, but I will not put them in with my own birds. So I've got this little set of boxes just to sanction them off. Literally consisting of a little perch, and there's normally 2 of them balls, but I'm using them. So obviously on race day, the birds will be coming from the south for me, which is over that way. They can see me from miles away. It's only natural. A bird's it's all flustered. You know what it's like when you're in a hurry yourself. You want it to come back in, and the second you start doing your feeding call, you want it through that door, timed in, as little fuss as possible. These spikes can help. Sometimes they can be a burden on you. If a young bird can get behind them, sometimes they struggle getting back forward, which will take you longer in the long run. Rubber rings without an electronic clock. All you need to do is run in, close the door, catch the bird. You don't need any of the trap. Catch the bird and time it into the clock. I've personally never done it myself. I think it's a waste of time running in catching birds when you've got the little pad that can do it all for you. It's just a little bit extra work. This aviary on race day isn't here. I just roll this over. I just roll it over for them to get settled, and then they won't be using it. Or if there's a period of time when I can't really get them out, then I'm going to be doing that. When you let them out for the first time, you want them to be hungry. I've let them out during the day before, quite early on. Sometimes it can be a mistake if they don't want to be back. Sometimes you just get a bird that's not interested. It's quite adventurous, wants to be out. You bet your bottom dollar he's going to fly over there and land on the houses, and you'll not see him for 2 days. He should come back. Way to combat that: do your first release maybe an hour or 2 before dusk. The birds naturally, they'll want to roost on a night time, so they'll come back willingly, straight in. Even if you don't trap train them, as long as you get them back, we know 100% that they're in the loft, they're healthy, and there's no predators, foxes, anything like that going to get a hold of them, because a dead young bird's no good to anybody. So I'll just use a little bit of food to lure them into the aviary. Naturally they don't want to be in there. All they want to do is be in the little hut. It looks like one of them's getting in. Whole idea of the aviary is get them used to the surroundings. They want to be looking around. This is where they're going to be flying, so they want to know exactly where they are, and that'll help when you let them out for the first time. I'm thinking maybe 3 days of this. This is the second, and then I might, weather permitted, I might go for letting them out for the first time. So trap training. Now what this is basically getting your birds in through a selected sort of entrance point in the loft at your command. This little bit which I have blocked off here, give me a second, it's just a little trap with sort of bob wires on and these open up one way. They won't. The reason this is on the floor, you would put, say, hang my electronic clock up there, wire coming down with a sensor pad underneath this piece of wood. The bird comes along, its electronic ring registers, it's arrived home on there, and it goes through there. Technically this is inside my loft, so it's, I don't believe, cheating in any way, but I'd prefer it on the outside so the bird can come onto here, mess around if it wants. It's in its loft, so you've still, as far as I'm concerned, placed in whatever race it is. Trying to keep them in the aviary, get them settled, have a look around, get to know the surroundings before I let them fly, but naturally they all want to stay inside. It is a bit dark and muggy today. Yesterday was a better day. This will be the second day of both trap training and they're settling in the aviary. There's one little fella there just chilling out. So I'll get this set up, get the food put inside, and I'll release the wires so the birds can come in. So I like to trap train the birds as early as possible. The reason for this is I believe it's easier to educate a younger bird than it is an older bird. An older bird sort of gets stubborn and stuck in its ways, whereas these juveniles are they're ready to learn new things. So I find it a lot easier to actually get them through the trap. This is the second day training, so you want them hungry. Last night I fed them just half a feed, so they are quite hungry at the minute, and this gives them a massive urge, along with being outside, not allowed in. Gives them a massive urge to get back into their section and to get their food and settle for the night. So I've got this set up, I've got food in the troughs, and I've rattled the can a little bit just to get them all excited. As you can see, the one in. At this point I've got them locked out. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and release it. I'm going to do the feeding call as I want them to come in, and we'll see how long it takes to get all 30 in. Obviously a couple of them have just escaped, so we'll not count them. Away then, come on! Come on! Come on then! Come on! Away! Come on! Come on! I can drop a little bit of food on the floor just to face the less confident and also. Away! Come on! Come on! Come on then! Come on! Away! Away! Come on! Come on! Come on! Come on! Away! In you get! Come on! Away! Come on! Last two! Come on! There you go! Look! Food on the floor! Away! Come on then! Away! Come on then! Come on! In you get! I just want to be patient and give them enough time to work out what they need to do. They may not be as confident. He came straight in there. I think we have 4 more outside, which are late breds from a friend. They only came in last night and they've done no training whatsoever. So they're approaching now, so I'm going to give them a few seconds, and then if necessary I'll go out and I'll place them through the wires by hand myself. Come on! Away! Come on then! You're constantly with your feeding call, because that's what you want them to hear outside. You want them through that trap as quick as possible. I think for the majority of these, maybe took about 10 seconds there, which I'm absolutely over the moon with, as it's only the second go through it, pardon me. So these last ones don't look quite interested. Could be a number of reasons. They're not very confident, they don't want to be in, or they're just not hungry enough to take the bait that I've placed down for them. So I'm going to do them manually, and I'll show you what to do now. If I can get this on. Just held on with a few hooks. Some people, instead of leaving the birds hungry, they'll sort of set every other barbed wire up and that's what that bit of kit's for there. Just makes a bigger gap so the less confident birds will actually approach it. But I think it's a waste of time. If you want them through straight away. So we'll go and get these and we'll put them through by hand. Whoop, they've knocked the door open. Right, so we're going to get these and put them through the bobs by hand. And the reason I'm doing that is because I don't want them coming back into the loft any other way. So just pick the bird up, pop it in front, and there we go, straight through. Come on, away, away. And another one. See, straight through. I didn't push him through. I didn't do any work. He did it himself. Just needed to point him in the right direction. See, this one's still quite young, which is probably why he's not. But there we go. He's in. No time wasted on race day. And the reward for them getting in on time is a nice clean floor. Oh, as clean as it's going to get with all the straw in. This will be coming out eventually. But they all get food. The ones that come in later on race day will obviously get less food. The ones that come in later for loft feeding, for coming in later from loft flying, they're going to get less food. They're going to be hungry. It's their own fault. They'll know to get straight through that trap next time. And we've got the two little young ones there, little fantails, ready for a friend. Should be ready in a week or so, I think. They are pecking themselves, but I've just got the extra little pot there. Come on, away, away. Come on then. Sometimes it is easier to have older birds trap trained already to show them the way, but it's not always available. For instance, these ones aren't trap trained, they don't get let out. The hens in here are purely here to feed them. They've actually trained pretty well. They've trained while I've been training the young ones, which I'm happy with. Just as important, your droppers. Race day, some people believe that if you have a brightly or different coloured bird to throw towards the loft, whether you clip them, whether you have them sitting eggs or they just want to be in, some people believe it attracts the racers back down, but I don't want to have to rely on them. I want my birds to come in purely for the love of the loft and the food that they're being presented, the mate they're being presented, should they have one by then. But they're there just in case. I think I've got 4 in here and 2 more in another loft. So, as you can see, the hen's rejecting that little one there. She doesn't really want to feed him. She's quite maternal. I'll see her go through 3-4 birds easily. And confused young ones trying to feed each other. They don't know what's happening. I do put a bit of extra food down so the parents, if they run out, then they've always got some for themselves. And like I said, the extra little pot in there. Nothing really to put forward for the other loft. Everything's breeding, shitting all over. You get sort of big chods after they've been sitting on eggs. Big chods of poo. So it's quite a messy time, but with the young birds I like to try and keep these as clean as possible, which means sort of narrowing down the cleaning on the rest of the loft. And obviously we all know I've got too many birds, so I'll just let them crack on. These should finish what they've got here, but I will wait until every grain is gone. I don't want them getting picky over the food, so they'll have to eat everything, and I may give them a top up later on. I don't know. Once the birds start training, I will start flying out the loft. After a few days, they're burning extra energy, so I will be putting maybe 2 feeds a day down. As it stands, I'm just putting 1 quite large feed down at the minute. I've got the water up a height there so they can train to use that, but for the ones that struggle, I've got that one on the floor also. I'm yet to see them drinking it, however, I think he's going to. They do it because the water's reduced every day considerably. I believe the signs of them not drinking water is blinking quite frequently, slow blinking, and obviously your water level isn't going to go down as much as you'd expect it to. But they seem to be getting on fine. Got no real issues with these. The bird I thought had splayed leg in the other loft. I'm not going to do anything with that just yet, because when it comes in here it's going to be using its legs a lot. It may help it, it may not, but if it can tuck it back well enough while it's flying, then I don't see why I shouldn't give it a chance. It's well enough bred. It may just be that it's been an only chick in the nest and it's had a bit too much space, that's all. This, a proven point that pigeons will breed anywhere. One of the boxes, these must be, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches deep, and managed to get an egg on there. I had one the other day on the other side and it was actually sitting the egg also, but the egg hasn't come off. This one, it's in the young bird end. It's obviously one of the feeding hens that's laid it, so I'm just going to dispose of that before it gets too old. I want them to build themselves back up, because it does take a lot out of them breeding all the time. So I'll get rid of that, and we'll just keep cracking on the way we are. So in my little cabin office here, or whatever you want to call it, I've done various bits of paperwork for the young birds. This one here, I don't know if you can see it right, it's just a small record of what box the birds are in, when they're due to hatch, whether they did, what day the band's due. I like to put maybe 5 days later, when they're weaned, and any comments, which I've just put the ring number on here. For instance, you can see this one came out of 1C, it was rung 267, it had died. I did have a few weaklings which were late hatching. I've had no young birds die later on in life, it's always been from hatching, but there has been 3. It's just easy to keep a record. I do have it on computer, but computers die. Do have it on paper, paper gets destroyed. This one here is just a list of all the young birds in order, all the way down. Obviously all them spaces will be filled out eventually, and it's just got stuff to remind us on. So firstly, the ring number, ETS, that is the electronic tagging system, I believe. That's the electronic rings that they clock in with. Obviously the fantail on the top there doesn't need one, so I've put that there. The sex of the bird, always handy to have. So I've got 2 sections, so I could put them either side if I wanted to. And the bird colour, so I don't know, I need number 251. I can literally just run in, oh I know it's a checker, it's got an ETS ring on, so it narrows it down, save me looking through blue birds. Is it trap trained? After 3 attempts with trap training through the bob wires, I'll just give it a tick, but I will monitor them also, see how they're getting on. Medications, so when I worm them, which will be the last thing I do once they're all sort of in the young bird section, I've got no more to go in, just trying to cut down on the waste there, and the vaccine date also. Basket training, basically I will put maybe 20 birds into a wicker basket, and if I get rid of this, and I've got a feeder on the side there, and that'll go in the loft. I'll feed them inside and I'll put water there. So you don't want the birds getting held over on a race because of bad weather or whatever, for them not to eat or drink. Obviously it's bad for their health, but also it's bad for the performance. I've got a list of various training points there, and basically in that box I'll put the bird's loft position, maybe even a time, whether it's came back or just a tick to say it has done it. And at a quick glance I can say, oh yes, bird, for instance 259 has missed 5 training tosses, why is that? Look into my computer and I'll find out, oh, he was poorly this day, he'd hit by a hawk that day, or whatever. It keeps track of it. That way, if it's not his fault, you're not going to get rid of a bird that hasn't trained for reasons he couldn't control. Then have boxes here. I haven't got the confirmed race points yet, but I'm going to put them in there. So the loft is loft position, the L, sorry, that's loft position, and the C is club position. So at a quick glance again, I can say consistently Yes, this bird always seems to come first in my loft. However, he's coming third or fourth in the club, so I can maybe put a bit of extra work into that bird to bring it up to speed with everybody else's birds. Competition is tough these days, very tough. Then down the bottom here I've just got Pool, the top performing bird from Training Results, which it's just a way to make an extra little bit of money, I suppose. Any federation positions, so I'm thinking in the top 10, which I want to put down. And after a bird's been missing for 2 weeks, I'll cross it out on here altogether, so I don't need to concentrate or worry on it. And I could keep track of it on the computer, but it does have status updates, so birds dead, breeding, sold, loaned out, anything like that. That way I'm not tracking birds that I no longer have. I know exactly what's there, where it is, what it's doing, and I'm not having to remember everything myself. Pen and paper or a computer has a lot more memory capacity, and it's a lot more reliable than my memory. So that's why I do it like that. Records are key. Records, records, records. Good treatment, records, and good food and water. That's all the birds need to love where they live. So the feed, there's a few different feeds depending on distance that you're flying, how hard you're training, stuff like that. The human body works by turning sugar into energy. Pigeons turn fat into energy, so they're wanting crude proteins. A pigeon flying will not use protein, it will use saturated carbohydrates for the first 1.5 hours of flying. Every bird's unique, so give or take a little while. So you're wanting, for sprint races, a completely different mix to distance racing. I've made just a small sort of tables here. This is completely new to me. Personally, I would just like to buy different mixes with different contents. However, my partner likes to do it like this. So a heavy mix, heavy on protein, fat, and it's got a little bit less carbohydrate. I'd say that's something for the winter months, the colder months, and basically I'd use that to build the birds up. Secondly, we have the medium mix, medium protein, medium fat, and we just adjust the fat by adjusting which mixes we put in. For instance, this blobby mix is a very fatty mix. This Four Seasons mix is quite heavy on maize, with not so many peas. So as you can see here with peas, beans, the best mixes are just expensive mixes, which I like to mix in. I don't like to just feed them expensive. I like to mix that into more reasonably priced corn, which it breaks it down, it makes it last a lot longer for yourself, but they're getting good, expensive, clean, well polished corn every day. So I will just adjust from the heavy mix. For instance, beans and peas quite heavy in protein, 1 jug, and this is per bucket. Each bucket holds 7 to 8 jugs. I like to make it all up ready. Medium, obviously I'll stick that down to half a jug, but I'll put maybe extra Four Seasons in. And a light mix is just 1.5 jugs of the fatty mix, the Four Seasons. The best mixes is normally lighter, so I'll put a lot more of that in, and I'll build it up a little bit with wheat. A depurative mix that's all it is, as required. I'll buy the depuratives because I don't know exactly how to make them. And a weaning mix is basically beans and peas for the first day or two. I've kind of broke that cycle because they're eating fine. Start with the larger stuff and it'll ensure the birds don't just eat the smaller seeds in any given mix. Then these are water timetables. Obviously you can treat food with various oils, garlic, stuff like that. But I've put this water table here, so on a Monday AM, this one is the feed, underneath is the water, so they'll get 3/4 of a light feed, and on an afternoon on a Monday they'll get a full medium feed. And this is to build them up during the week, race day, and the day after they'll get depuratives to break them down slightly, and on a Sunday they'll get a light mix just to get them used to it again. As you can see, I've just reminded myself there just to hand feed as often as I can. Weaning birds, you don't just want to say, right, there's some beans and peas, you don't eat it, you starve. So I'll put a little bit light stuff in. Like I say, I have broke that, but the water, water treated, water just meaning clean water. Many people fall into the trap of adding so many additives that they completely forget to give them just clean water. So treated stuff will be such as garlic, water, apple cider vinegar, maybe these which I have over here, the Aviform Race Boost and 11 in 1. They're currently using that at the minute. And these are a few of the mixes sort of in action. Don't open this. So this is a young bird mix. As you can see, I've sort of followed the general rule of thumb on the wall there. I've used a sort of a super start mix, which has got a lot of sort of rounded seeds and stuff in. I've just added extra peas and beans to get them used to eating it, because that's going to give them the protein and the fat to help them in growth in the early life. This one here is just a mixing bucket which I mix in, however I've still got some left in. So this one here is, I believe, the medium mix. Quite a lot of the fatty mixes broken down with the 4 seasons, which is why it has a lot of maize. As you can see in this one, you've got the yellow maize, as opposed to this one has yellow and it has sort of red maize and these green peas as well already into them. But the young birds seem to love that. This one is more of a heavier mix. However, these buckets, I haven't mixed them up yet, because I've only got one mixing bucket, so they just get stocked up for the week. And I mean, it probably lasts more than a week, maybe last a bit longer, but I like to try and keep it as full as possible all the time. That way, if I can't get here for whatever reason, even one of my sons and daughters can come up, as long as I tell them, you know, 4 jugs in the bottom loft, 4 in the middle, and however many in the top. They can come up and do it, so I know the birds are always getting fed. And I've got a bucket here just with grit in. Grit, very, very important. A bird can't digest food on its own, or it can, but it's very wasteful. So you use the grit and that breaks the food down for them. Relatively cheap if you buy a large sack. I believe you can pick it up for sort of £10, which I believe in dollars is maybe $8 or something. Euros is around the same as pounds anyway. But you buy it in bulk, it doesn't spoil, just keep it airtight, which is why I've got it in this bucket. And those bins over the other side there on the middle shelf, they're full as well. But the more you buy, the cheaper you get. You buy a tiny little sort of sandwich bag, it might cost you £2 or £3, whereas you're getting a lot more for your money doing it like this. Just keep it all in bins, in separate sacks. So here we have the first one, which is the super start for the young birds. This one is the depurative mix. Now, it's the first time I've seen this, but it's very, very good quality, and it looks very, very dry. Dusty almost, but it just looks like good quality. As you can see, the maize in it is very, very small, and it's built up more of sort of wheat and safflower, stuff like that, just for easy digestion on the birds, for breaking them down, and for just as they come back from races. You don't want to heavily feed them after a race. So in here we have trapping seed. This is infused with aniseed. It's all very, very, very small seeds, as we know birds will eat any seed, but it's very attractive to the birds. It's very warming. I like to give them half a jug during the cold weather, and it just helps warm them up a little bit. You don't want to be feeding too much all the time though, because the birds do get hot. This is one of the best mixes. I don't believe I'm allowed to say brands, but you can obviously tell by the colour of the bag what it is, or more than likely anyway if you live in the UK. Same again, a high quality mix. This one here, this is my peas. I don't know what brand they are quite expensive, but it's not just a plain simple bag of peas, there are other things in there with them. Like I said, I just break this down to for every sort of 4 bags of different stuff you buy, and when you mix it down you get more out of it. Another thing I've done is made a flag, so when they're out flying, something to keep them in the air. Whether I'll use it or not I don't know, but it's quite simple, just an old sort of net curtain pole taped together. I've drilled a hole in the walkway and it just sort of squeezes in there. Relative to the door, it's pretty much in front, so the birds flying around, once it's up straight, I know it looks a mess at the minute, but the wind blowing, it should stop them going in through that door. Keep them up in the air for a little bit longer, hopefully. I know people that do. Sorry if you can hear that noise, it's just me CCTV camera sensing motion. Yeah, I know some people actually walk around and sort of wave it around to keep the birds in the air, but hopefully we won't need to do that. And when the flag's not in use, it just wraps around the pole. Sort of, I think that's off tent pegs. A little packet goes over the end to hold it in place. Remove it, and I'm placing it up here at the minute, around here somewhere, just to keep it out of the way. I don't want too much motion for that stupid camera. Keeps you up all night. But yeah, just stick it there out the way, and that comes out during training, when the loft flying, and not race day, just when I want them not in the loft. So it's ideal to clean the loft out when the birds are outside. Obviously the longer they're outside as well, the less shite there is to clean up inside. Yeah, so I think that's about it for today. I will be trying to post more videos. I understand it's been about a week since the last one. My wife had the baby. He was a little bit poorly over the first few days, but we got him sorted. So I'll be back on the birds full time now, and well, full time between work anyway. She's able to cope with the kids, and I'll spend time with them on a night time. So until next time, if you please like, subscribe. I'll be sharing it on my Facebooks, Rob Miles Ascendant Loft. I'm not very good at putting links on yet, but there is. So one of my viewers has decided to help us out with that, and he did it for us yesterday. So I will be trying to work that out. I'll be trying to gather more footage during the week. If there's any subjects you want to cover, by all means, put a message in the comments and I'll do what I can to cover that. May even be something that I've got to research myself. And just take good care of your pigeons, and we'll see you soon.